Hello everyone, welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at anymoon.com's comparison of Bandai's DX Renewal VF27 released in August of 2013 and with the original release VF27 released in February 2010. There's been some changes, not nearly as many as were on the VF25 original and versus renewal releases, but I'm going to go step by step showing you each one. Alright, we'll begin with the guns. The gun with the pink accent as opposed to the purple accent is the renewal version gun. There's a new type of clip in the front here that swings down. On the original release, it's just kind of a guide that swings down. I'll attach those to the toys in a second. There's also a little slot in the grip of the renewal version toy that pegs in, well, that the hand pegs into to grip the gun a little more securely. On the original release, there's a swing arm that comes out from between the arms in fighter mode, meant to grip the gun. If you didn't bring this arm out during transformation, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get to. You have to partially transform this toy back to Garrick Mode to swing this arm out. So that was a little bit of a nuisance. There are these two little grip spots on the gun, and you can see right there. Those go into the swing arm. And then that front guide goes below the crotch, like so. And it just kind of clips into place. Like that. Now, it was good enough. I don't know many people complained. You got a little play out of it, though. But, you know, it works. On the Renewal toy, there's a little divot in the front here. This little C-clip can grab a hold of that divot. You have to keep the rifle barrels closed, and you apply forward pressure. And it's quite a bit of pressure. Once it's locked in place, it actually is sturdier than it was on the original toy. But, just to be a little on the extreme side, Bandai also gave us a grip holder. So this goes on the back of the gun. I mentioned there was that little slot in the back of the gun. It can fit into here, and then this peg fits into the shield slot in the forearm of the toy. So you would have to squeeze this in through here, and then it's kind of tough. It's a lot easier if you partially transform the toy. But you can get that holder in like so, and then again, you're just going to apply forward pressure, quite a bit of forward pressure while keeping these barrels closed. And now it'll lock in the front and the back. And now there's a kind of a death grip on this. So that is, I don't know if I'd call it an improvement. I think it's an improvement if you don't need to use that accessory piece. And from what I've seen, you really don't need to, so I'm not really sure why they felt they needed to include it. One of the chief differences between the two toys is that the Renewal toy comes with a lot more stuff, including a display stand and super parts. To accommodate the super parts, there are now notches in the top of the shoulders and slots in the forearms. There's also little slots in the back in those locations. Now, if we take the original release toy, no slots in the back, although there are the slots in the very bottom here for the fold drive, and no notches in the shoulders or slots for the forearms. On the original release, the rear landing gears don't have a lock mechanism, so they can easily be pushed back into place. On the new toy, the rear landing gears do have a point of resistance, so they want to stay upright more than the original release did. One more additional accessory you get with the Renewal version of the toy is this clear green canopy. The only other differences really to speak of in fire mode are painted on detail. There is additional painted on detail to the Renewal Toy, and much of what had been painted on white is now painted on off green. There's also the pink trim is now more of a purple trim, and the gray feet and boosters are now more of a gunmetal gray. As you can see in these detailed pictures, top and bottom, lots of painted on detail changes. It seems to be that Bandai wanted to really give the appearance of a lot of improvements without making a lot of improvements to the mold, which has got a lot of people saying that this isn't really a renewal toy like we saw with the VF25, where essentially every single piece of plastic was brand new. Alright, let's check out Garrick Mode. On the original release, the hands have a little hole in them, and there's a peg in the forearm. So to switch out the fists, you slot the fist, the new fist, into that peg. This gives a little bit more play than you'd probably want if you're holding that big heavy gun. On the newer release, the hand has the ball joint, and there's a pocket inside the forearm to accommodate that ball. This makes the hand just a little bit stiffer. The back half of Garrick Mode is supported on the original toy by two metal pegs near the shoulder fitting into a little plastic slot. Now, what happens is if the weight of the back tries to droop this, cause some droop, it'll be stopped by that metal peg. Unfortunately, you can pull the arm outward, which then renders that stopper useless, and the back can droop down. So you would have to make a conscious effort to keep these metal pegs and arms tight in Garrick Mode. On the Renewal version of the toy, the plastic around that peg has been reshaped to grip the peg better. The mechanism itself has also been modified to no longer cause the play outward that we saw in the original release. So it's relatively assured that those pegs are going to stay in and keep the back upright. But then, just to add that much more support, Bandai gave us a new arm that comes down. This is why the Renewal toy doesn't have the arm to grip the gun. This arm comes down, and when you have your legs in place, the arm comes down and slots into the back of the crotch, which then locks that back upward. So now the edge of the wings may still droop down a little bit, but there's no question that this back isn't going to go any further than that, even if you had super parts installed. On the Renewal version of the VF27, you can get the leg a little bit further swept forward in Garrick Mode than you can on the original release. Here you see this angle here versus that angle there. It's just a little bit steeper on the Renewal version. On the original toy, the back of the toy attaches to the crotch via one single peg. It comes up and clicks into place like so. On the Renewal toy, Bandai's emulated the VF25 connection of two metal pegs that fit into two little slots to get the back to connect to the front. Like so. The higher thigh position of the original release VF27 leaves the intakes very close to the swing mechanism next to the cockpit, which limits mobility of the original release toy. On the newer toy, the thigh and hip is lower down, which creates some clearance between the legs and the back of the toy, which gives you a little better mobility. On the original toy, when you brought the crotch forward, there was nothing there that kept it forward. So what you had to do was take one of your fixed posed hands This isn't in the instructions or anything, but it was the only thing that made sense. And squeeze it in there. And then when your toy was upright, the crotch would stay jutted forward. For the Renewal release, Bandai gave us a slightly more elegant solution in this piece designed to do exactly what I just used a fixed post hand to do. It's got a little peg on the outside and a little slot on the inside of it, so it fits in a little better and doesn't drop out quite as easily, although it'll still pop out on you every now and then. So there you go. Now the crotch will stay jutting forward. This shoulder hinge is all one metal part, so it's connected to the chest and this plate right next to the chest, and they need to be at the same angle if you're going to keep the metal rod that holds that together. And you have to do that because if you unhinged it or unpegged it, it will droop down to an area that clearly does not look right. Now the positive that this has over the original or the Renewal release is that this metal part of the top shoulder, this painted purple, is very tight in against the body, which the Renewal version can't quite simulate. Here you can see on the Renewal version there's a hinge in the middle of that shoulder mechanism that allows it to stay pegged in to this piece here and at a different angle than the chest. There's also a rotation point that lets you get that same angled outward that the V1 had. But you can see there's now a gap between this shoulder part and this piece next to the neck of the toy. As you can see, the higher hip position on the original VF27 release makes it look a little bit shorter in Batroid mode. It makes it physically makes it shorter in Batroid mode, 22 centimeters to 24 centimeters, which makes the Renewal VF27 right in line with the Renewal VF25 toys, which is obviously a plus. You get a reshaped crotch, which looks a little bit better, although it still could have been improved further by most people's standards. The Renewal, all of the different little improvements to the shoulders and chest that I showed you earlier do help hold things together a little bit better, so it makes it a little bit more enjoyable to handle. Check out nemoon.com for my full post on both of these toys for a little bit more insight. Thanks for viewing.